All right, so today's video we lost 1% on the account. Um and again, road to 100K, it's going to be EP2 or week 2. Um and we're back at break even. We're not at a bad spot, but we're just not at a good spot. We're in drawdown. I don't like being in drawdown, but I have to understand that I put myself in this position to be in drawdown. Why? It isn't the system, it isn't this and that. And I've come to the conclusion though, like it isn't anything that I'm doing in terms of trading, like technically wise. It's more about my understanding or logic, I guess, and like my decision making and like my what's the word? Like my mental state basically when I'm in the chart, when I'm on the charts. Um and again, I went for a walk right now. I've talked to the vlog about this, but one thing is certain. Like I keep watching when I'm not on the charts trading. I'm watching videos. I'm studying, like other concepts, this and that, learning more, trying to like feel like there's a holy grail and I'm closer to reaching it. When in reality, it's only pushing me further away. And I've told myself I got to stop watching these videos. I got to stop watching. Trying to learn more, this and that, these playlists here, there, these concepts. I've learned the most and I've grown the most whenever I've done an internal reflection upon my system and like, created the playbook, updated the journal, revised it, refined it. When I refine these things and I reflected upon them, I've become the best version of myself. Now it's really just my mental state, like how can I improve outside of the charts when I'm on the charts basically. Sounds crazy, sounds weird, but I'm just trying to, get into a better mental state because I feel like I'm rushing the process. I feel like I'm always thinking about, oh, I need to win this trade or I need to do this and that by this week or by next week or by this day, like I'm always trying to like rush the process and that's eliminating the thought process of like I need to be picky. I need to think long term. I can't, try to rush the process here, like and whenever you try to rush the process and you don't think long term and you're not a sniper, when you're like having your bullets, one shot, one trade a day, you you allow over trading and over risking to come into play, and you're just unable to like really sit on your hands when you're in a trade or when you're about to take a trade or when you're entering the market or like showing up to the market. You instantly get FOMO, you instantly get impatient, and that's what I realized, bro. Going for the walk and just like not listening to any playlist or any music or any podcast or just anything in general, just going for a walk, with just being in my own head. I realized that, like, bro, I'm doing so much damage to myself, and it's like an internal wound that I've been running away from all month basically, because again, the last 2 weeks of this month have not been the best. I've been avoiding really reflecting inward and trying to like understand myself and understanding what I'm doing wrong and what do I need to fix, and it's reflecting upon the charts. So let's go over this trade here first though, and then we'll talk more about what I plan on doing. um, so this is my Yukon account. Basically, it's the follower account. You can see both of them, Transurfing and Yukon. My two funded accounts are down. Today we did have news. So if we go to Forex Factory here, you can see we had 2 p.m. news and then 2:30, the press conference for FOMC. And I basically waited till 2:30. I didn't take anything before that, but this was the trade of the day, basically the hindsight trade that I need to go over. But we didn't take anything there. We took something on MNQ, and you can see here we're down 1%. Let me show you guys the accounts because I know a lot of people love looking at these stats, and all that. But ever since we got the account, December 1st all the way till now, basically, right there. So yeah. And you can see here we're down. We were up close to -1%. Now we're down 2%, which is completely fine. One good trade, risking 1%, aiming for 1 to 2, wipes this all out. But if we don't do that, then of course we're just gonna blow the account, which is again a learning experience. As long as I'm following my system and I'm following my rules, in terms of like, okay, I'm only sitting on my hands, waiting for one good trade, taking one good setup, walking away after a loss, I'm cool with that. But if I'm over here, crashing out, doing this and that, not following the system, not doing this and that, not something that I can't learn from, then of course I'm gonna be angry, like. But yeah, this one's 2% down. This one's 1% down. just again reflecting inward, trying to understand what am I doing wrong, where can I improve upon, and just trying to be in a better mental state. That's my main dilemma here. So we're going to go over here and we're going to go back to MNQ. That's where I took my one trade for today. I was looking at ES longs though, but I'm going to go over what like switched in the back of my mind whenever I was about to take that trade. So we go to a weekly time frame. I was originally more bullish, so we're going to have all this marked out real quick. So this is the all-time highs, draw on liquidity. And then eventually, if you can see here, we have a weekly CRT clearly indicating what higher prices, telling us, we're likely to continue to the upside. On the daily time frame, again, just a clear market make a buy model. We are breaking above these highs. Just what bullish price action, clearly being indicated what we're closing above, clearly what showing signs of displacement and higher prices. And then eventually here is where all the good stuff starts to come into play. We have a 4-hour buy set imbalance here being respected on, NQ. While on ES, it's a different story. It inversed it, showed weakness, didn't like that, And then we had a 1-hour sell set imbalance. This is where my little trade idea, and again, mind you, today I was originally more bullish than bearish. I was looking for longs, and I thought about it too. I was thinking to myself, why did you go short? Why were you shorting? Like you were clearly more bullish, especially from a higher time frame perspective. Everything just screamed bullish here, And in the moment, I did get tunneled vision once I entered off of this 5-minute IFVG, which I'm gonna show you guys. But in the moment, what did I feel? What was I thinking? Like in the moment, as soon as I saw 5-minute, 1-hour SIBI, 5-minute inversion for Liga, I thought, all that was manipulation. Once we moved up, and it wasn't a retracement, I was like, maybe that's manipulation. To then eventually pushes down lower, form that, changing the state of delivery after we form this inversion. I'm willing to take the stab here. But then I've realized, it didn't have a higher time frame confluence. It didn't have the cracks and correlations that I wanted to see. Only had an SMT fill, which was the SIBI, It didn't have a higher time frame confluence. While being bullish does. It has a 4-hour buy set imbalance. It's inside of a discount of the lag on the higher time frame. And then eventually using volume profile analysis, I realized we were tapping up into a high volume node. And eventually here, let's go to the 1-hour time frame, which we're on right now. We have a clear candle range high swept right there. But if you go down to the lows, you can see we also swept both sides. So we swept both sides on this candle right here. Very indecisive PA. Once you're in the market conditions like this, where the market, swept both sides, don't trade it. Don't trade it. Save yourself mental capital. And I should have realized that early on. Just looking at the 1-hour time frame, like, bro, don't trade this. Like if the market clearly swept this low, because of course we had SMT at these lows right here. If the market swept these lows and it closed above bullishly, this is going to get inverse. But the market didn't do that, But if we go down to the 30-minute time frame again, we had another little sweep. And this one was really nice. Little 30-minute sweep. And then obviously on the 15-minute time frame, we had another one. So again, sweeping the lows, looking for a reversal on, in terms of like market make a buy model situation. We want to see that formation there. And then on the 5-minute, here we didn't have an inversion, but on NQ we did. So we had an inversion for like a form, and this is where my initial bias should have came into play. Like I should have seen this and I should have been like, okay, we are bullish. We are bullish, bullish, bullish. I wasn't planning on taking longs until we had that, until we had that change in the state of delivery with that 5-minute inversion for early gap. But now that I'm looking back and I'm thinking about it, bro, if the market is, trying to form a delivery like that and it takes this many candles and this much time to give you that, change in the state of delivery and that inversion for value gap, it doesn't seem like it's high probability, if I'm being truly honest. In terms of speed, in terms of aggression, it's just not there. It doesn't make sense trying to think in the back of your mind that, oh, it's going to just jump up and, move with high volatility, but it's not, bro. It's not. Even during a news event like this, the market doesn't have to move. And I realized that whenever I was trading it, and I realized that whenever I took the loss, I was like, bro, the market does not care about your fair value gaps, what lines you're drawing on the screen or anything, bro. This thing will do its own thing, and I had to, accept the loss. So this is where I took my short, and as soon as I entered the short, bro, I've like something in the back of my mind switched. I was like, oh shit. I was like, shit, bro. I was like, what did I do? Like, why did I enter here? I was like, bro, we're going against all what I just like basically was waiting for, which was a higher time from, or I mean, a lower time from change in state of delivery, higher time from sweeps, showing what bullish intent on the lower time frame, having that small retracement, forming an inversion here to then push up higher. On ES, I promise you, on ES, I've already had the drawings, I already had like the position marked out of where I would want to see longs form after retracing. But after we formed this inversion, I had a different story in the back of my mind, and it just was not healthy. So yeah, in the 1 minute, we had that strong delivery lower, formed that inversion on the 5, and it just never got respected. Market pushed up higher, showed clear intent to continue up higher, and it formed this inversion here, and that's kind of where everything changed. Once we formed this inversion, I kind of knew I was cooked. I was still having hope. I was like, oh, maybe we can form an inversion here and then continue to the downside, and this little, bearish mitigation block could hold us and push us down lower. But again, context and narrative over emotions. So, and that's the loss we took right here, and I accepted it and I moved on. Again, one trade a day, walked away after I got locked out, and yeah, not really much else I could say or do. I already journaled this trade. I thought about it. I was like, bro, where did you go wrong? And where I went wrong was in terms of like changing my bias, not sticking to my bias. I had my bias of being bullish, but once we had the SIBI retraced up into, and we had like an SMT fill, I thought about it. Let's go to MES, and I thought about it. I was like, bro, shorts don't look bad. But then reflecting after making that decision, shorts were bad. Like. I think, again, you have to go through this. You have to go through that process of like taking losses and understanding what you're doing wrong to then eventually learn and to grow. But if you're not learning, if you're not growing after, taking losses, then you're doing something wrong, and you're not really reflecting, and you're not really taking the lessons that they're giving you, So very, very crucial. Again, just a bad trade, honestly. The better trade idea, again, would have been shorts, but even then, just waiting for a change in state of delivery on this 5 minute to really show you strong displacement and continue lower and break below these lows, and continue with the movement lower, But again, that never really formed, that never really happened. We have to accept this loss and move on. And again, another thing that I'm thinking about is, again, like, okay, cool, I lost. All I need is 2% to get out of drawdown. That's one good trade, risking 1 to 2. 1%, 1 to 2. And I thought about it. I was like, yesterday's trade could have been like a 1 to 2 or 1 to 1.5. Well, I mean, 1% or 1%. Yeah, 1 to 1.5. No, 1.5% of a win, like it could have been close to 2%, but, just thinking about it, bro, like it hurts losing, but as long as you're making progress, that's all that matters. And in a month, think about it like in a month, next month, if I really sit on my hands and I wait, I can get 3 good trades, risking 1%, aiming for 1 to 2, and I could potentially get out of drawdown and get a payout. Simple as that. So yeah, peace.